Donald Trump told us over and over and over again that if he were to get into office and he was able to implement his insane tariffs, that the American people would not get hurt. But that just proved to people like me that he has absolutely no idea how any of these tariffs are supposed to work. And now he seems so ideologically driven to implement this bad idea that he is going to follow through with these, except this time he's actually admitting that, yeah, maybe the American people might get hurt by these. You can't even make this stuff up, folks. He lied to your face, and now he is going back on what he tried to sell you before the election. So let's go ahead and take a look at this conversation he had with Bloomberg, where he is trying to sell this narrative that American consumers are going to be the greatest beneficiaries of his tariffs.
What about consumers, people out there?
They're going to be the biggest beneficiaries.
Yeah, critics say your tariffs will end up being like a national sales tax.
Nope. The countries will pay.
If you have America at the moment has $3 trillion worth of imports, you're going to add tariffs to every single one of them. That is going to push up the cost for all those people who want to buy foreign goods.
Now, what's going to happen?
That is simple mathematics, President Trump.
It's not. Yeah, it is, but not the way you figure it. I was always very good at mathematics. Yes. Let me tell you, you're saying $3 trillion. Those companies,
$3 trillion worth of imports.
And they don't have to pay. And if by the higher the tariff, the more likely it is to have them come into the country.
The higher the tariff, the more you're going to put on the value of that piece, those goods, the higher people are going to pay in shops.
So even the Bloomberg reporter was trying to tell Trump that if you implement these tariffs, that prices were going to be raised for the American consumer. And for anybody that needs a recap, he is exactly correct. A tariff is a tax on imported goods. So when an American company wants to purchase goods from outside of the country, when they import those goods, they have to pay that tax, that tariff. And what do they do after that? They turn around and they pass that tax that they just had to pay onto the American consumer. There is not much controversy around this. Most economists agree that all of the burden of a tariff is passed on to the consumer. And there were people screaming at the top of their lungs trying to tell Trump over and over and over again that if you implement these tariffs, that the American consumer was going to have to pay. But he kept on and kept on and kept on. He tried to sell this lie to the American people that they were going to be beneficiaries of this. And now we are where we are. Even after he got elected, he went on with Kristen Welker and still tried to say that the tariffs were going to cost the American people nothing.
And now you have major companies from Walmart, Black & Decker, AutoZone saying that any tariffs are going to force them to drive up prices for their consumers. How do you make sure that these CEOs, that these companies don't, in fact, pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers?
They cost Americans nothing. They made a great economy for us. They also solve another problem. If we were going to have problems having to do with wars and having to do with other things, tariffs, I have stopped wars with tariffs.
This man is living in a delusion. He has no idea what he is talking about. What war did Donald Trump stop with his tariffs? He should have learned from his first term when he implemented these so-called strategic tariffs, and then he had to spend billions upon billions of dollars of bailing out the farmers because those industries were impacted so harshly. So why is it that he is so ideologically driven to implement these tariffs? It makes absolutely no sense. And we just found out late last week that indeed he is going to follow through on 25% tariffs to Canada, 25% tariffs to Mexico, and then a lesser 10% tariff on China. So let's go ahead and get a quick rundown of these new tariffs that Trump is going to implement, and then we will go from there.
Tonight, the United States on the brink of a trade war that threatens to hurt American consumers and upend the global economy.
There could be some temporary short-term disruption.
President Trump signing a trio of executive orders imposing 25% tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada, with the lower 10% tariff on Canadian oil and gas and 10% tariffs on goods from China. The new measure, set to take effect on Tuesday, could raise prices for Americans at the grocery store and the gas pump.
Yeah, that's exactly what is going to happen. Prices all across the board are going to go up. And is this what the American people signed up for? Is this what the MAGA folks signed up for? Because Donald Trump kept on telling us over and over and over again that we were going to be beneficiaries. This wasn't going to hurt us. But we just know that is not true. And how does it make any sense at all that we are imposing 25% tariffs on our ally Mexico, on our ally Canada, and then for our adversary China, well, they only get a 10% tariff. So now we are putting our own allies at a competitive disadvantage to our adversary China. How does this make any sense? I thought Donald Trump was supposed to be tough on China. But now he is punishing our greatest allies and giving a break to one of our biggest adversaries? This makes absolutely no sense at all. And now Donald Trump is starting to come around. He's starting to admit that, in fact, there might be some disruptions with the American markets because I'm starting a trade war that makes absolutely no sense.
How would you expect to have prices come down if you have such a broad plan for tariffs? And what do you say to the voters who want to see you reduce everyday costs?
Well, let me just tell you that I got elected for a lot of reasons. Number one was the border. Number two was inflation, because I had almost no inflation. And yet I charged hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs to countries. And think of it, I had almost no inflation and took in $600 billion of money from other countries. And tariffs don't cause inflation, they cause success. They cause big success. So we're going to have great success. There could be some temporary short-term disruption, and people will understand that. I had that when I negotiated some of the good deals for the farmers. And unfortunately, those deals have been led astray by Biden and his people because they didn't enforce the deals.
So Trump is just lying to you. We know his first term tariffs were an abject failure for our farmers. I think it was something like $29 billion we had to give to the farmers as a bailout because Donald Trump implemented these tariffs that hurt their economies so badly. I mean, what is this nonsense? Donald Trump is punishing our allies. He's letting China off with a better deal than them. And it just is, he knows and is now admitting that, yeah, there might be some disruptions. The American people might experience it a little bit. But he's just he keeps on repeating this line that it's going to bring success. It's going to bring success. It's going to be good for America. It's going to be good for America. But we just know that is not true. If you implement a 25% across-the-board tariffs, then prices all over the country are going to go up. And that is especially true when we look at like oil imports. We import a ton of oil from Canada. So our gas prices are going to go up. We import a ton of fruits and veggies from Mexico. Prices at the grocery stores are going to start going up. And now Donald Trump is actually admitting that instead of trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. And I'm just asking myself over and over and over again, is this what the American people signed up for? As that reporter said, he promised over and over and over again that he was going to lower prices for Americans. But now he is starting this idiotic trade war, and it is going to hurt Americans. All because he is just so devoted to this very idea and doesn't want to back down because he doesn't want to come off as weak or something. It is absolutely delusional. He then goes on to say that, yeah, the American people might experience some pain.
No, I'm not concerned. We may have short-term a little pain, and people understand that. But long-term, the United States has been ripped off by virtually every country in the world. We have deficits with almost every country. Not every country, but almost. And we're going to change it. It's been unfair. That's why we owe $36 trillion. We have deficits with everybody. We help everybody. We've been helping everybody for years. And to be honest, I don't think they appreciate it.
This man is an idiot. He's talking about trade deficits, and then he conflates those with our federal deficit. These are not the same thing. Just because we have a trade deficit with a particular country does not mean that that country is screwing us over. We are a bigger economic powerhouse than most of the countries that we trade with. So it stands to reason that we would be buying more goods from them than they are buying from us. But Donald Trump continues to try to sell this lie that these countries are in some way just ripping us off, even though we are currently operating under his own trade agreement from his first term. He is such an idiot. He renegotiated the U.S., Mexico, Canada agreement in his first term, and that is the current trade agreement that we are currently operating under. These countries are not ripping us off. It is a mutually beneficial relationship when we have Canada and Mexico buying goods from us, and we want to buy goods from them. This is not our allies ripping us off. Donald Trump just has no idea what the hell he is talking about. He thinks that because we have these trade deficits, that we are somehow subsidizing their countries. But what he fails to realize is this is a benefit for both parties involved. We want to purchase goods that Canada makes, so we give them money for those goods, and vice versa. We build goods here in America that Canada wants to buy, so they give us money for those goods. And where does that money go? It goes into Americans' pockets. Donald Trump is just a babbling idiot. He does not know how these things work. He's trying to say that these countries are screwing us over, even though these economic relationships have been like what the conservative platform has been all about for decades. This is what free trade is all about. We want to trade with other countries, and that, builds a better society on the global stage because we have shared incentives to trade with one another. But now Donald Trump is just wrapping himself up in this nationalist protectionism, and he is willing to hurt the American people as he does it. This is just not okay. But this is where we are. We are only 2 weeks in. It is going to be a long, long road. Trump is proving, just time and time and time again, that he is just beyond incompetent. He's proving to the American people that he's willing to lie to you just to get a little bit more power. And he's now admitting that actually these tariffs that he is putting out there for no apparent reason at all is actually going to hurt the American people. All because he couldn't, appear weak on the world stage. It just makes absolutely no sense. He is an incompetent, delusional man, and somebody should really invoke the 25th Amendment against him because, honestly, this cognitive decline is very apparent to me at this point, and he just has absolutely no idea what he's doing. So we'll keep an eye on it, guys. I think the Mexico tariffs got paused for maybe a month, but we'll just see how it all goes. Just remember, this is Donald Trump trying to exert power over other countries because he wants to feel like a big, strong man. But in reality, he's not only hurting our relationships with our allies, but now he's admitting that, he's going to hurt the American people too. So I will leave it there for now. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We have to build something here on the left that can adequately push back against the right-wing media ecosystem because all they do is spread Trump's message far and wide without any pushback at all. And that's how so many American people were able to get lied to before the election. So if you do appreciate the work I do, please do remember to subscribe. If you want to see just an absolute disaster when it comes to Trump trying to explain his view on tariffs, please do watch that video on the screen now. It is quite a sight to behold that a president of the United States has absolutely no idea how tariff works. So do watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.